Parents of Reddit, what's the funniest lie your child has told you? We took my 4-year-old son to Legoland in California. We were waiting in line for a mechanical pony ride that he was very excited for and could do by himself. The attendant was asking every child their age before they got on the ride. We hadn't thought to talk to him about why. When he got to the front of the line, the attendant asked him his age. He hesitated and looked at us. We reassured him. Then, as cool and confident as could be, he said 18. Everyone within earshot was rolling. Apparently he was worried that he wasn't old enough. Worked on that ride. Kids had to be 4 or older in case of an evacuation, and we had to ask every child. My mother got called by school for my much younger sister when she was 6/7 on the occasion of her having shown up at school with a black eye. Principal, Mrs. H. I think we have an issue with your daughter's cousin Rebecca. Mom, she doesn't have a cousin named Rebecca. Principal, I'll get back to you. 15 minutes later. Principal, I think we've gotten to the bottom of things. It seems that your son's girlfriend is the issue. Mom, my son is gay and he's been in London for the past several months. Principal, I think you should come in. My mother arrives at my sister's school under heavy suspicion of being a child abuser. She takes one look at my sister and says to her, "Wipe that crap off now." My sister had taken mascara and painted herself a black eye. When asked why she would do such a thing, she replied, "I wanted to see how everyone would react." My daughter was 3 and farted loudly, then said that was a woodpecker. Well, that woodpecker ripped butt in here. My kid was having trouble making it to the bathroom before he pooped his pants. I was always telling him, if you need to go potty, just put down what you're doing and go. Whatever it is can wait. I guess he took that to mean he was in trouble, despite the fact I stressed time and time again that I wasn't upset. So one day he comes streaking into the living room, naked from the waist down, and starts excitedly telling me this long and involved story about how he was in the bathroom minding his own business, when suddenly the dog kicked in the door, ripped his pants off, attacked him, and pooped in his pants that were laying on the floor. The dog in question is a 16-year-old blind and deaf Chihuahua BTW. Wish I could remember the whole story he told me. It was hysterical. Hahaha, you just know that in his mind this was totally going to work. I'm a preschool teacher. One of our 3-year-olds who is very smart told me today's my last day as a kid. I start college on Saturday and let out a huge sigh. I volunteered with a preschool last semester. The 3-year-olds with old souls are the best. One day, one of the little boys and a little girl were the last 2 people at the snack table. The boy sighed dramatically, put his chin on his fist and said, "Well, Sophia, it looks like it's just you and me." I wrote on the wall when I was very little. My dad asked me if I did it. I responded, "No, Todd did it." There is no Todd. He says, "Oh," walks out of the room. Comes back 5 minutes later and tells me I just got off the phone with Todd's mom. Todd said you did it. Checkmate. No way my kid did that. We raised him better than that. Son walks into bedroom about 5 AM. "Son, my pants are wet." Me, "Did you pee the bed?" Son, "Number." Me, "Then how are they wet?" Son, "Water." Me, "What water?" Son, "From my body." Me, "So you peed your bed?" Son, "Number." Me, "Then what water?" Son, "The water from my wee wee." Me, "So you peed your bed?" Son, "Number." I peed my pants. Me, "Where were you?" Son, "In bed asleep." Me, to wife, "Am I going crazy?" And that, folks, is parenting. I choose to believe that your son is home from college during this exchange. This was a lie I told as a child. When I was in preschool, I told everyone I had pet goats. We had no pets, not even a goldfish, so I have no idea why I conjured up a goat in my little brain. We also lived in New Jersey by the shore, so it's not even like it was common for anyone to have farm animals. Anyway, I kept this lie up really well for a kid. If I had a scratch, I'd say my goats did it. I'd come in every morning and wash my hands because I was playing with the goats before I came in. They had names too, but I don't remember them. Unfortunately, my goat fantasy all came crashing down when my teacher asked my mom to bring in our goats for show and tell. As we were learning about farm animals, my moms thought she had the wrong parent, but my teacher persisted. They called me over to explain and I was caught. I was extremely nonchalant about it. My teacher thought I was extremely odd for it, but my mom found it hilarious and still jokes about it. I am now aware that some people did have goats around the area I grew up in. That's nice and all, but the real fact of that matter is I didn't. Like, not even a little. If there was such thing as an opposite of a goat owner, that'd be me. And B, you could have helped me keep up my story and you didn't. I see how it is, folks. Oh, man. I grew up in NJ with pet goats. About 0.5 hours from the shore. I could have saved you. Yesterday, my nearly 4 years old used the garden hose to soak the dog. When confronted, he insisted the dog was wet because it had rained. I noticed he'd peed his pants too and mentioned it. He denied that and said his pants got wet while he was spraying the dog. This is the cutest one. I even told my wife, and she laughed too. Coming around the corner into the kids' room. Alright, who got into mommy's makeup? Amber did it. Amber's mouth looked like a mouth. My other child had colored smeared the bottom third of their face with fuchsia lipstick. It was still on their hands, too. One of the warning signs that my parents were raising a queer son should have been that, when visiting my female cousins around age 8 or 9, I would trick them into tying me to a chair and giving me full makeovers against my will. I was a pretty good actor, because my cousins definitely thought they were bullying me, with one even apologizing years later. Have you been eating crayons? No, with blue teeth. Your child is ready to be a Marine. You should be proud. After my kid looted the candy jar. Where you got that candy from, son? UHH. I found it in my mouth. Look, if he was telling the truth, which he could have been if some stupidly rare circumstance had occurred, I don't wanna know what he was eating. My nephew. I don't have a child. His mother, what's that little scratch on your hand? Nephew, well, actually it was very serious. I sliced it open with a knife at school. There was a huge hole in my hand, so the teacher had to cut some skin from another child to stick my hand back together. My 4-year-old had been jumping in mud puddles near our house, which he was specifically not supposed to do. When he came up to me covered in splashes of fresh mud and I asked him what happened, he looked me right in the eye and said, I have no idea. I recall having a similar encounter with my mom, except I was covered head to toe in mud and said I got into a fight with a mud puddle and lost. She lost it laughing. I was the kid, probably 5 or 6. My mom told me not to torment the cat I got for my birthday, yet I tried to feed him a mud pie, repeatedly, until he put a long, deep, bloody scratch all down my leg. I knew how to deal with boo-boos, but this one was a monster. It hurt enough to put my leg in the bathtub, wash it with soap and water and pour Bactine on it, without worrying that my mom would come in and see me, which of course she did. Nulla gravida, she said. Didn't I tell you not to bother the cat? How did that happen? I blurted out the first thing I thought of, which was I didn't. This is a mosquito bite. I'll never forget the first time I ever thought, God, that was a dumb thing to say. My 2-year-old told me I had to turn on the TV because the dog wanted to watch Elmo. That could be true though, Elmo's the crap. My daughter asked my wife, where's daddy? He's at work. No, he's with his girlfriend. Oh yeah, is she prettier than me? Yes, 2-year-old daughter. If I wasn't such a loner I'd probably be in trouble, but since my life is go to work, go home, repeat I was safe, haha. Swear I saw this from the wife's side in our relationships. I asked my 8-year-old son to tidy his bedroom. He spent an entire day in there and then told me it's done. I go to his room and it looks tidy. He looks a bit edgy though. I then hear the cat meowing. It sounds muffled, which is a bit suspicious. I eventually lift up his mattress and discover the poor cat trapped under the bed. Poor bugger had gone to sleep in a box and been shoved further and further under the bed while my son was hiding all the crap from his floor under the bed. Total accident. He didn't know she was in the box. When I asked him what he had been doing for the 11 hours I'd thought he was tidying, he told me he had been watching Harry Potter on repeat. That was funny enough as it was, but the next day I sent him back to his room to actually tidy properly. I said, and don't you dare watch Harry Potter. Tidy your dang room. Shortly after this I hear the TV. Go upstairs and ask him what on earth he thinks he's doing. What? You said I couldn't watch Harry Potter. You didn't say anything about watching Friends. When I was about 3 I came downstairs and proudly announced to my mom and her friends that I had not colored on the walls. She of course thinks I haven't, ran upstairs to see what damage I had done. I really didn't color on the walls, I just thought I was funny. My nephew has 2 moms and about a year ago he was being taught that most people have a mom and dad. About a week later his mom found marker drawings on the wall. My nephew was covered in marker scribbles and told his mom that he didn't do it, his dad did. I have an almost 2-year-old so she doesn't understand lying yet. She is also better at saying no than yes. I always find it funny when she is devouring her dinner and I ask her if it's yummy and she flat out says no as she shoved another mouthful of mac and cheese in her mouth. My kid says yeah to everything. So if you ask do you hate daddy, she gives a very enthusiastic yeah. Not uncommon with kids I guess. My son when still in diapers or being potty trained was always telling others that I was the one pooping in his diaper. He did it enough I considered doing it just to teach him a lesson. I'm the child. In 1st grade I cut my hair and hid it in my desk. The teacher later found it and told my mother. When confronted, I said it must be Henry's hair, Henry being the only other redhead in my class. The problem was Henry was a boy with dark, almost auburn hair, and he had a buzz cut. I was a girl with bright red hair past my shoulders. They asked how Henry's short, darker hair had become several inches of bright red and what it was doing in my desk. I told them his hair was short cause he cut it all off. He must have hidden it in my desk. My argument had fallen apart a long time ago but I conceded when I had no excuse for the color. Hubs and I lived with my MILF for a while after a financial crisis. Our oldest daughter was 3 and always trying to pull one over on someone. Went into the bedroom to discuss something we didn't want to talk about in front of the kid and had been in there for about 10 minutes when we heard her knocking on the door asking to come in. I explained that we were having a grown-up conversation and that I'd be with her in a few minutes. Not to be dissuaded, she waited 20-30 seconds and knocked again. Who is it? I asked. It's Gigi. Comes an unnaturally deep voice on the other side of the door. Gigi being grandma. Had to give her props for trying. My sister told this one. In her preschool a nurse came in to test everyone's hearing. The nurse tried to make it fun by saying let's play a game. When you hear the beep raise your hand. My sister failed the test miserably. My mom got the result and was totally distraught because her sister, our aunt, was born deaf and she struggled a lot throughout childhood in school, making friends, etc. The following weeks until my sister could get an appointment with this really great hearing specialist were very upsetting according to my mom. She read every book she could, asked my aunt hundreds of questions, etc. The morning of my sister's appointment with the hearing specialist, my sister and my dad, who was quite the jokester, so she assumed he'd love this, were talking about hearing tests and what to expect that day. Then she said very proudly, Daddy, the hearing nurse said let's play a game, so I played my own game. My sister took the silly little game aspect way too seriously. Clearly confused, he asked her to elaborate. Apparently her game was to do the opposite but of what she was told. My dad explained how that's a big problem and now we don't know if there's really any hearing problems. She cried because she thought she was in trouble and did something wrong. The poor kid was so nervous. During the next hearing test she raised her hand indicating she could hear the beep before the machine was on. Luckily, they had an alternative test where the specialist whispered across the room about ice cream and she certainly heard that. Needless to say, she has perfect hearing. Lone parent to 2 girls. Every time I go for a bath I hear them creep down to help themselves to snacks. I let them have one snack in between meals because my eldest especially can be a bit greedy. So each and every time I get in the hot bath I hear them trying to creep down the stairs. When I hear them sneaking back up I always say I can hear you. It's nearly supper time, you don't need more snacks, and the lies they come out with make me laugh. It wasn't the sound of a crisp bag. It was a shopping bag so we can clean up. You are imagining things. We think there's a ghost that keeps leaving empty wrappers under the bed. Have you never heard of mice? Haha, you are imagining things made me actually lol. I have a cousin who was a creative liar since she was small and a bit of a one-upper. She always has a follow-up story. So when I got a pet turtle she told us about when she had a pet turtle. My dad knows she's never had a pet turtle so he's probing around to see what she says. Dad, oh, you had one too? Yes, but not anymore. Dad, really? What happened to it? Her. It got ran over by the train. Dad, wow. So it died right away? Her. Number. It was on crutches for a while. Dad, crutches on a turtle? Her. Yeah, and bandages. She's now an adult and has not grown out of this phase. Her lies are more believable now, but she always has a story that tops your story. Knew a guy like this. We actually called him Topper. My nephew was cutting his sister's hair. Mum walks in and while the scissors were still in his hand he immediately says, "Abby did it." At the time, my daughters were 4 and 2. My wife is at work. My 2-year-old comes downstairs crying and it looks like blood paint all over her hands. I go to her and realize it's toothpaste. I go to our room and find the 4-year-old at our bed with a tube of toothpaste completely emptied and she's rubbing it into our comforter. I start to bath. Get both of them in the tub. The 4-year-old looks at me, hands covered in toothpaste and says, "It wasn't me, Dad. Only sister did it." Same year, my 2-year the baby, our son, pulled my hair. Sure he did. My wife was 8 months pregnant. Not my child, but my nephew told us he has a farm that he owns and he spends time there with the pigs when he needs a break from the rest of the family. I like this kid. He is going places. My kids wiped a cool looking pencil from another student's desk. The teacher saw it happened and confronted my kid. My kid adamantly denied it. When the teacher pointed to the pencil sitting on my kid's desk, my kid suddenly pretended to be blind and said she didn't realize she'd taken the pencil because she couldn't see. She was 7. It wasn't particularly a lie, but one day the bathroom sink was blocked. I just figured it was one of those things in hair, etc. was blocking it. When I investigated further I found a lolly wrapper stuffed down the drain. I let her know we'd found it and explained she probably would get away with it more if she just put it in the bin. Not a parent myself, but I work retail at a hardware store with the famous candy trap at checkout. Boy, looks about 6. Mom, can I have candy? Mom, no, we just ate. Boy, what if I save it for later? Mom, no, we have snacks at home. Boy, what if I throw a tantrum right now? Mom, then no snacks later. Boy, all that mean. Mom, moms are supposed to be mean. Boy, I don't ever want to be a mom. Mom, you won't. You're not a girl. Boy, oh yeah, not funny when I read it back, but I thought it was a funny exchange at the time. It's funny because it's just solid mom logic that worked, lol. My brother once told his parents that he broke his arm because a dead cat jumped out in front of his bike on his way home that evening. He was 15 and told everyone about the dead cat that jumped out in front of his bike. I mean, it was definitely dead after my bike hit it. Sounds like an open and shut case, Lou. When I was around 6 or so I would cuss when I thought no one could hear me. My dad told me one day that Santa heard me cussing and had told him. I told him that Santa was a liar. Not a parent. My sister went to her friend's house for a dinner party. She came home stumbling drunk and my mom just looked her over when she walked in the door. Sister looked at my mom and said, "Oh, I think they may have put a little wine in the spaghetti sauce for flavor." Smooth sister. Ha ha. Not a parent. This was me lying to my parents. Came home one day with a small toy Hot Wheels car I had found in the playground. When asked how I got it, for some reason I claimed it fell with the snow. Not a parent, but I once bit my brother on the neck and told my dad that he bit himself. I'm imagining someone trying to bite their own neck and OMG, this is amazing. When Iz was 4, we had just got a new house. My mom found out that I had drawn a huge chicken on the wall of my closet and I had signed it with my 3-year-old sister's name. My mom brought us both to look at it and said, "You'll be in less trouble if you tell the truth." I was adamant that I didn't do it. I told sister not to do it, but she did it anyways. I spoke clearly really early. My sister not so much. My sister, no I not do it. My mom then said, "Sorry sis girl. Sister, can't write." I was like 9 and had gotten a hold of my mom's razor and attempted to shave my legs for the first time. I was already super hairless, which makes me wonder why I even tried to shave. So I thought I'd be sly and my mom would never notice. That's until I cut myself. The blood mixed with the water from the shower made it look way worse than what it really was. I was sure I was going to bleed out and die, so I called out to my mom. She rushed in and bandaged up the tiny little cut, then asked me how I got hurt in the shower. I knew she knew, but I felt like I needed to lie. I rambled about how I dropped soap on the floor and slipped on it, which made me do a 360 turn and skid my shin on the floor. She pointed out that her razor wasn't on the shelf, but instead on the floor of the tub. I panicked and began scolding her for leaving her razor on the floor because that's probably what cut me. I can't remember because I passed out. It could have been way worse. You shouldn't be so irresponsible with sharp things. I could have died. Needless to say, she didn't buy it and I got in a bunch of trouble, but she thinks it's hilarious now. My 2-year-old son farted in the car and tried to blame it on me. It was just us in the car. My ex would do that. She's 27. Our 6-year-old had taken to writing her name on things. The couch, the car, the wall. Her 5-year-old sister saw that she kept on getting in trouble for this and had an idea. She carved her sister's name into the other side of the car with a rock knowing that she would get in trouble. As it turned out, we recognized the handwriting as it was all in capital letters. My nephew, who has a learning disability, got in trouble for biting another kid when he was in kindergarten. When asked why he did it, he told us that his brain told him to do it. I thought it was funny. The other parent, not so much. Doesn't make it okay, but can't really argue with that one. My boyfriend's 3-year son told us that his 1-year brother had taken off his diaper and peed on the 3-year's lap, and that's why there was pee all over him as his car seat. He said this while his brother was obviously asleep and both his dad and I were in the front seat. That is a very sneaky one, yo. My stepdaughter used to be the master of horrible lies, so bad that they were funny. Here's a few. My friend's grandma is 300 years old. I taught blind kids Braille at school. My friend is a 60-pound gerbil that drives around in a remote control car. There was more than one Titanic. There were survivors on the Challenger shuttle. I saw it on YouTube. Really, because I watched it live when it happened. I have a gluten allergy. I really wish I could think of some more of them. There were some really good ones. There was more than one Titanic. There were 3. I'm the child. Twice I conned money out of my parents for the Scholastic Book Fair, claiming the money was for a classroom party and it was my turn to contribute. When I came home with a mini wooden airplane model set, I told them I won it in a raffle. They found out the second time. I got grounded. Fool me once. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.